Well, hello everyone. It is time for Life's Co-Pilot has got a panel today that I'm really excited about sharing with you. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a real quick screen share so I can show you something on Life's Co-Pilot here. If I get, where's my screen share? Okay. And then we'll come back to our panel. But on Life's Co-Pilot, if you come up to events, you can also figure out when there's upcoming events coming up. So this one, we have the Senior Safety Expert Panel, and we'll come back and have you guys introduce yourself. But we got John Moriarty, Fire Chief with Carmel Fire Department, Scott Barnhart, and your title, I'll let you do that one later because I'll get tongue tied in that one. And then James Gross with Community Outreach with Carmel Police Department. So, and then like I said, we always have upcoming events here. So I'm going to stop the share and bring everybody back onto a page here. So for some reason, Scott, you're the one that's showing up on my big screen. So would you go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, and all that kind of stuff?
Certainly. Thank you, Jim. My name is Scott Barnhart. I work at the Attorney General's Office. I'm their Chief Counsel and Director of Consumer Protection. The Consumer Protection Division operates in the office to protect consumers throughout the state and seniors in this instance, and kind of be the voice for aggrieved consumers throughout the state based on the complaints that we receive in our office.
Well, thank you. John, would you like to talk about who you are and where you are and all that stuff?
Absolutely, yes. First and foremost, I want to say I'm not the fire chief of Carmel Fire Department. I am a division chief. I want to make that clear.
Go. Okay.
Chief David Hallbush is the fire chief, a wonderful
Right.
man. I'm a division chief of community relations. I am the community liaison officer for the department. I work and do a lot of outreach with the community. Anything going on in the community, I oversee that and do a lot of that. So, and I want to thank everyone for having us on here today.
Thank you, John. So, James.
Yeah, I'm James Gross. I'm a police officer with the Carmel Police Department. I've worked for the department since 2006. My current position, I am the Community Outreach and Crime Prevention Officer. Began this position in October of 2019, so just over a year now. So I help with our public information, managing our social media platforms, and any community meetings, community outreach, things like that, as well as our events. So,
well,
again,
great. Well, I'll tell you,
thanks for having us.
This particular panel is, I'm very excited about having you guys here because basically we're going to talk about the safety measures that are in place, or things that are in place with the different agencies that you represent, but additionally, what people can do to protect themselves in the marketplace, from a physical safety, from a property safety, from a cyber safety, all the different things that are going on today, targeting predominantly to our senior community. But then, as we may have people here that are in the senior professional community watching. We may have people that are looking out for their parents, looking out for their grandparents as well. So James, you're still up on the screen here. Tell me some things about the Carmel Police Department and what you guys are doing, and what some of the programs that people need to be aware of.
Well, we have quite a number of different programs and things on a day-to-day basis. We'll have, I'll go back with just general patrol officers, our patrol division, operations division. That's most likely who community members are going to see on a day-to-day basis. Those are those officers out patrolling the city in their districts in marked vehicles. That's who's going to show up if you call for assistance, whether it be the emergency number of 911 or the non-emergency number. That's who's going to show up. So on a day-to-day basis, we will have a minimum of 10 patrol officers working and up to 3 supervisors as well. So we're out, the officers are assigned to different districts so that we're spread out throughout the city as well. So as far as programs though, one thing that would be important for seniors is we have a Safety Link program. So maybe if you don't have any family around or friends, neighbors, anybody that can check on you, you can sign up for that program. and that we will have volunteers call, check in with you, make sure everything's okay. We also offer, if somebody might go out of town or something like that, we have vacation check programs where officers will come out, walk around your home, and make sure everything's okay there as well. So those are kind of the programs that we have. We also have Neighborhood Crime Watch. So if you're a resident of Carmel and you live in a subdivision, they might have an organized crime watch. So, and that could be independent of a homeowners association. It just depends. Some of them, they work together, others will be separate. So that's another way that you can become involved and just keep, either keep tabs on information that's coming out, or just help out the community members with safety as well.
On your, you call it a safety check? Was that the one you were talking?
The Safety Link program.
So a safety link. Now, how does someone get involved in that? Is someone, how often do they get checked on by these? I'm interested in that one.
Sure. So that's something, the calls would be on a daily basis, and with their volunteers that help make those calls. So if someone would be interested in getting on the list to receive calls as part of that program, or if you want to volunteer to help, you can just contact our police department. There's also information about that on our webpage, which is just carmelpd.com.
Okay, very good. John, tell me about what's Carmel Fire Department doing and things along that line.
To begin with, we usually have over 40 personnel on duty every day that are protecting the city of Carmel and Clay Township. These firefighters are on 24-hour shifts. They come in at 7 in the morning and they leave at 7 the following morning. So it's always protected. We have 3 shifts, A shift and B shift and C shift. And again, they all work 24-hour shifts. A lot of people ask the question to start with that comes up a lot. Why do they send an ambulance and a fire engine when it's an emergency medical call? It's a very good question. It's asked a lot. And the reason we like to talk about that is to explain that. Because a lot of people say, well, why can't you just send the ambulance crew? We'll send an engine along because we tend to find out that when someone's in cardiac arrest, it's better to have 6 people than 2 because of what's going on. This way, someone can run the AED, someone continue to do CPR. And as we know, CPR is vital, obviously, to keep someone alive. So to have more people to help perform CPR is very helpful. If you have someone that's upstairs or downstairs and they have to be brought from upstairs down or downstairs up, it's much better to have 6 people than 2. So to answer that question of how many or why do they send an ambulance and an engine, that kind of answers that, if that makes sense. And I say that because that's asked a lot. We've actually get that, wherever we go, that's asked why we send so much. On a day-to-day basis, the administration runs the fire department as well. From 8 in the morning to 4:30, the administrative offices are open. A lot of the programs that we offer, one is particularly the Mobile Integrated Health Network program. And this is a free program. Our caring and trusted providers can provide complimentary services, including detailed health assessments, home safety inspections, medication understanding, blood pressure monitoring, and social interaction. This is done by, like, one of our paramedics is in a particular vehicle, and they would come to someone's home after they've been released from the hospital just to follow up on them and see how they're doing and go over this type of stuff. If they need additional medication, if they want their home and a safety inspection done, it's a wonderful program. Some of the other fire prevention safety measures that we recommend, and again, this is for seniors. The major risks and causes of fires in seniors in their home, one would be cigarette fires involving seniors. We recommend obviously smoking outside, and then nowadays smoking in bed should be avoided at all costs. That's where it's going to start. Kitchen fires, when food is unattended, it's going to start a fire very easy, obviously. If it's possible to have someone visit the home and prepare the meals for a senior, that would be very helpful. Space heaters, especially this time of year with winter coming on, these devices have been known to cause fires unbelievably. So we recommend getting the space heaters that automatically shut off that automatically shut off after a period of time or turn off if they're tipped over. Another thing would be used this time of year is a lot of candles people use, especially seniors. And open flames obviously cause fire. So we make sure to make sure that the seniors have they call it a snugger that puts out a candle fire. That way they're not reaching across over the flame with their, sleeve on their coat or their shirt or whatever and catching that on fire. So we recommend having one of those available. Fireplaces and wood stoves are used a lot this time of year. They obviously cause fires as well. We recommend having those checked on a regular basis, just having it inspected in that. Fire safety in the home for elderly people, we recommend clothing choices, wearing the proper clothing. For example, when they're cooking in the kitchen, a lot of times not wearing their robe when they're cooking because of the fact robes sleeves hang down. And when they reach over to cross the stove of an open flame or even an electrical hot burner, those will ignite very easy and start to close on fire. At that point, if it would be, God forbid, we'd recommend them to follow the stop, drop, and roll procedure. Keeping a fire extinguisher nearby is always helpful, and obviously knowing how to use it. So we provide that as well with the fire department if anybody has questions. Be able to quickly call for help. And what we recommend now is most generally everybody has iPhones. On the iPhones now, you can set them up where you just push one button and it automatically calls 911 for you. So that becomes very helpful as well. Again, for seniors as well. Getting out quickly. Above all else, leave the home as quickly as possible. This can all be planned with the fire escape plan with the elderly person, with their family members, and have a meeting place outside. Have a plan for every room how to exit as well. And then keep important things ready for you when you need to get out. Your glasses, your keys, your hearing aids, cell phones, things of that nature that seniors would need. And then obviously knowing your neighbors. Thinking about your mobility needs as well with seniors, knowing where their wheelchairs are, or where their walkers are, or their canes, or whatever they need to exit the home. And that brings us to another program we have in the fire department, because a lot of people, seniors, in their home or in a wheelchair or have to use a walker, and they most generally need assistance getting out of the home. So about 2 years ago, one of the city council members in Carmel, Laura Campbell, reached out to the fire chief and wanted to put together a program for a specific response in Carmel. And what that is, for example, someone with any kind of respectfully special needs, and or someone, for example, if grandpa's in a wheelchair and he's in the basement of the home, and he would obviously need help getting out in the event of an emergency, of any type of emergency. So what we created was the specific response registry form. And what that is a form where someone can go in voluntarily and put in information about their home and their address, and the fact that grandpa's in the basement in a wheelchair and the daughter has autism, and whatever else may be important information that they feel the first responders, both police, fire, and ambulance personnel, would need to know before arriving on the scene. It would help a lot to have all that information put in. We created this form, and over the past 2 years, we joined Hamilton County and put it to merge the two programs together. That is the Carmel Fire Department Specific Response Registry form and Smart 911 program with the county. So now it all falls under Smart 911. Anyone can go online and just go to smart911.com and voluntarily put in their information for their home address, and all that stuff will come up on the screen when first responders are responding. So that's another program we have within the fire department. Something else we have is what we call our File for Life program that looks like this, if everybody can see it. It's just a little, it's got a magnet on the back, and this goes on the refrigerator in their home. And what it is inside there's a little form that they fill out that looks like this. On each individual in the home, it has all the information about your medications you're taking, all your medical history and everything. And again, it mounts on, or just has a magnetic strip on the back. It goes on the refrigerator. So if we came in on a senior citizen, God forbid, and they were down on the ground, unconscious, we would be able, we could look for this on the refrigerator. If it's there, it would tell us all the information we need to know. And it just speeds the process up. Even if it's grandma, God forbid, would be down on the ground and the daughter would be home, a lot of times family members are shaken up because of the excitement of what's going on. They can't remember what medication grandma's on and things of that nature, this is very helpful because they can simply pull it off the refrigerator, hand it to first responders, and they can proceed to take care of them. So those are some of the programs we have going along with the fire department.
One of the first ones you were talking about where they can help people as they're coming out of the hospital. What was that one again?
The mobile integrated healthcare program.
And how do people find out more about that?
They can call our fire department number 317-571-2600. 317-561-2600. The direct number to request a visit by one of our personnel providers today, you can call 317-571-2606.
How do you qualify for that? Is it the hospital assign you to this, or is it?
Yes, it'd be assigned, I believe, through the hospital. The
Okay.
hospital that they went to for treatment.
Okay. So it's not just for somebody off the street going, hey, I don't call these guys. It's working with their doctor in their hospital.
With their doctor in the hospital, yeah. It is
Okay.
definitely working through the hospital.
Okay. Scott, would you like to give us a background on what you guys are doing over there?
Sure. So not surprisingly, a lot of scammers and con artists look upon and prey upon seniors. So in the Consumer Protection Division, we see that a lot, unfortunately. And where we see that is in identity, privacy, and common scams that we see. Now might be a good time to.
Oh, you want to go ahead and get into that? We can do that. Hang on a second.
Yep.
Let me
That's
get
all right.
Let me get the screen share going again. Okay. Let's see if I can get this thing. I may lose you guys for a while, but just tell me when to move it, and we'll get her done.
Sure. If you could advance to the next slide.
Okay.
So again, identity theft, telephone privacy, common scams. The first, if you could advance to the next slide, that'd be great.
Oh, past this one? Okay.
Yeah, so so where we often see it with seniors is in the what we call the DCSA, or the Deceptive Consumer Sales Act. And the DCSA provides the Attorney General's office the opportunity to investigate matters where unfair business practices or companies are taking advantage of all individuals, but specifically including in seniors as well. And another statute that we have is the Home Improvement Contracts Act and the Home Solicitation Act as well. And so
that's you guys that are coming in trying to do the hey, you need to get your roof done or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And you see it, well, I've got an extra yard of concrete, be happy to, add that, take that, save you some money, and we'll just put on another patio. You never see them, right? Those kind of schemes. And they prey upon seniors, because seniors, sometimes they're lonely and sometimes they're isolated. And what you see is particularly in the home improvement context of taking advantage of folks in very specific ways. So there are statutes out there that are designed to protect seniors in that regard, and the way that our office hears about that and investigates those are through consumer complaints. And I'm going to talk about that later on. But if we don't hear about it, then that's an important part of our office is to receive those complaints, to look at them on an aggregated level, to see what bad actors are out there, and we can't see those if we don't receive the complaints from consumers and from seniors. So if you could advance the slide, please.
Okay.
So specifically with respect to seniors, if you go to the next one. The Senior Consumer Protection Act, individuals 60 or over. Seniors, one of the reasons why seniors are a prey because they've very often have worked their entire adult lives and have saved some money in the process. And so scammers like to go where the money is, and so they take advantage of those folks, and they try to find and spend a lot of time coming up with do that. And so there are statutes out there that protect seniors against those individuals. And particularly now with smartphones, sometimes there are some seniors out there that know as much as anybody else about smartphones. There are also others that perhaps are a little bit behind on that, and they get a text or a link, and all of a sudden they click on that link in that text message, and the information that's on their phone, sometimes sensitive information, gets in the wrong hands. And so we have statutes out there that design to protect seniors for that, with those circumstances, and to try to limit those whenever we can. You advance the slide, please. So the schemes generally are low tech in terms of stealing wallets or ID cards, or going through mail, going through trash, that kind of thing. You're seeing that is still around, but you're seeing less of that because you're seeing scammers go more online and to online versions for several reasons. One of those reasons is they can remain anonymous to a large extent, and they can also have access to a lot more tools. And if they're pulling mail out of a mailbox, they can have just it's a matter of economics and numbers. So from that standpoint, there is stuff out there, and you still need to be vigilant and aware, moving from low tech to high tech, obviously, from a standpoint of having access to more individuals. One of the things that we encourage individuals to do is have a very good working relationship. So from a standpoint of checking their accounts regularly, making sure that they run reports, credit reports, and that there's no suspicious behavior out there, and being very, very diligent about making sure that the emails that they receive are legitimate ones. They're not getting spoofed, or they're not, clicking on any suspicious links or downloads.
Do you recommend those programs that you can sign up for, that so much a month that monitor these things for you, or is that more them making money and not really benefiting you? So I mean, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, there are programs out there that can help in that regard, and I think there are actually programs out there that are tailored to seniors in that regard. Obviously our office doesn't promote products or anything.
Well, I get that, but I mean, is it a worthwhile thing to be looking at?
Yes, I think it is. And from a concept standpoint, from a senior standpoint, it provides a layer of protection that they otherwise wouldn't have. Okay. And sometimes in terms of some of those programs will give alerts and send emails or send alerts saying, hey, we noticed something suspicious that maybe the consumer didn't notice. So I would say, to answer your question, yes. I think that there are some programs out there that might be worth exploring on that front. You could advance slide, please.
Oh, you already got all that stuff? Okay.
On this one, it's important to make sure that you keep a limited amount of personal papers. Obviously, that's important. Review your credit reports. If you think a freeze is in order, you can explore that. And again, with Officer Gross, and one of the important parts of this is scammers often go in that gray area between the civil world and the criminal world. And very often, they'll read reports from the police department. They'll say, this looks to us not like a criminal matter, but like a civil matter. And so it's important both to touch upon, the law enforcement and police departments, but also file a complaint with us, because scammers operate in that gray area. And sometimes it's not an easy call as to whether it's a criminal matter or a civil matter. So I would say, if you're gonna do your due diligence, do both. And very often we refer things to law enforcement and say, hey, this is we think that this is a criminal matter. But sometimes we investigate it, even though we've referred it to law enforcement. It just kind of depends on the circumstance. But just beware and know that you have the ability and the opportunity to pursue both a civil side in terms of scammers as it relates to consumer protection, but also as it relates to law enforcement as well. Because sometimes these schemes are, there are fraudulent and they are criminal. It just kind of depends on the nature of the situation. If you could advance, please.
Okay.
And again, be very, very careful about protecting your tax returns, protecting your Social Security numbers, not sending those out over email, and certainly not giving that information over the phone or unsolicited. There's a lot of IRS scams out there where people are spoofing telephone numbers, and they're spoofing. It may look like it's legitimately coming from the IRS or it's legitimately coming from a state government agency, and it is not, because there's a lot of sophisticated software programs out there that can spoof numbers and can trick consumers into thinking that it's a legitimate call when it is not. So just diligence is the primary concern. If you could advance, please.
Trying. For some
Okay.
reason, not let me do it. Hang on a second. There we go.
Again, IRS scams, skimming, that kind of thing. If you go down to, I'm going to skip over credit freeze. I think a lot of folks out there understand that they have the ability to do a credit freeze. And if we go directly to telephone privacy. In this, seniors often get a lot of calls, and I don't know if Jim, if you got any political text messages, but it seems to be rather rampant these days. The political text messages. Yeah, they haven't actually, they slow down, but they haven't stopped. And that's, unfortunately, that kind of falls outside the rubric of the do not. And that's for another day. I'm happy to talk about that if you'd like, but the telephone privacy in terms of the actual hard calls, I would encourage folks, if they want to be protected, to get on the do not call list. And then the information is there. Don't answer, hang up, consider blocking, and report. Again, reporting is key for us, because we keep track of that and we try to go after the bad actors, but we don't know who the bad actors are unless you report. If you could advance, please. Okay, so from the do not call list, a lot of times these individuals, they claim that they're volunteers or employees of a charity or newspaper and things along those lines. They've gotten very sophisticated with respect to their scripts, with respect to, how they try to lure folks into providing their information on the phone. They're very good at it. So that, if you can keep from answering that call, if you can keep from talking to them, and certainly do not provide them any information that could identify you or any confidential information, is where seniors need to be in this front. So again, here's some signs. They prey upon, well, don't you trust me? I mean, you seem like a reasonable person. You seem like you know what you're talking about. You're very articulate. They can be very, very persuasive, and they can, lull you into to a sense of false confidence. So you need to be wary of that. Here's some scams, foreign lotteries, being very pushy or very aggressive about locking you in right now or trying to get your information. Don't wait. We need your information now, or you're going to lose on this opportunity. Those kind of things. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. You could advance. So you see general areas of these phone scams: prize offers, travel packages, health products. Obviously, the travel packages are less of an issue now, but you're seeing a lot of prize scams and a lot of health products, particularly health products, and particularly in the context of, oh, well, you want to be free from COVID, and just take this product that's is a placebo, if you will, and you'll be all right. We've also seen some health products in terms of CBD. CBD is very popular right now, and the connection of CBD to to health related products, and even COVID in at least one. So be mindful of those and be wary of somebody trying to sell you those products over the phone. You could advance.
And
and charities as well. So again, and you know, if you're senior, you've worked likely worked a significant part of your life, and you've saved some money. So you know, there are a lot of get rich quick schemes and investments, and particularly you see this occasionally as it relates to veterans and you know, veterans in terms of pensions and things of that nature, where scammers will know the lingo and try to take advantage of veterans and in their, you know, the resources and the options that they have as veterans. That there are folks out there and trying to take advantage of opportunities.
right. Recovery schemes, what's that?
So recovery in terms of you know, get your money, you pay up front and you'll get your money back, and it's going to go to a good cause, right? So in terms of scam will be able to get your money back, or you've paid a certain sum of money, and well, we've noticed that that you were defaulted by, or you lost money to this third seller. We'll go after them and we'll recover your money, and you pay us, and we'll go after and collect money from them.
Okay.
And it's just it's trolling out there, seeing, you know, in terms of, do you have a small claims case out there? Do you have something like that? We can help, and you pay us and we'll go help.
Okay, I was trying to figure out how they were doing that one. So yeah.
Yep. So again, who's calling? Why? Don't be afraid to slow down. So seniors, in terms of asking questions, and you know, who are you exactly? What's your company name? And if they try to dodge questions, that's a telltale sign that they're you know, that they're not a legitimate entity. And why are you rushed? What's the timeline? You know, be diligent about slowing them down and asking them questions while not providing them the information that they're apparently asking for. And so if you can slow them down and kind of see if you can put some sunshine on what they're trying to do, that very often protects seniors and keeps them from making mistakes in terms of providing information or money to the people that are not entitled to it. If you could advance. And again, you'll link to this, Jim, on your website, but this is an FTC link on our grandparent schemes and kind of how scams happen. If you advance the slide. Again, slow down and resist the urge to verify. Grant recently is a text or saying, you know, I'm the grandchild and I need your help and I need money. And I'm in Mexico and I need bail money, or I need whatever. And they send it via text. And sometimes folks don't slow down and verify, and they'll send money. You know, one circumstance was, I was made aware of a month or two ago, where the person came very close to sending that money, and then just pick up the phone and called their daughter and said, what's Johnny doing? You know, why is he in Mexico? You know, he's not in Mexico. He's with me on the couch, right? And so that kept that grandparent from sending money to whoever. And you know, but you've got to ask the questions, and you got to say, okay, this text message I'm receiving, maybe it's spoofed, maybe it looks like it's coming from the grandchild. You know, you don't know, but if you slow down and you verify it and you confirm that yes, it is a legitimate circumstance before sending money, that's where the senior needs to be.
Yeah, we're running into that in our real estate company. We have getting these texts all the time. They'll take someone's name in leadership, and then they're sending out texts to people saying, hey, and they, you know, the number's off just a bit, but they send out this thing going, hey, I need your help on something. Could you help me out? And that happens weekly. It's, somebody's, so.
Yeah, and you see that. So before I joined the Attorney General's office, I did a stint several years ago, and I came back a couple of years ago. But when I was in private practice, we had a staff member that got an email that looked like it was coming from one of the partners in our law firm. And the staff member went out and bought a bunch of gift cards, thinking that it was directed her to do that. And, and then, what are you talking about? I confirmed it over the phone. And that kind of stuff happens. And the problem is that, as Officer Grosso, I'm sure will attest to, those folks are very hard to find, right? They're, in terms of they mask their, mask their identity online, and sometimes they're offshore, and getting subpoenas and trying to subpoena information from folks that are offshore can be a nightmare. So doing your due diligence on the front end and not giving them information is really, really important. And verification, and trying to see if you can determine whether it's legitimate or illegitimate without just kind of running whole hog into the scheme. So just being aware. Again, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And
okay.
And again, in terms of our office, I'm happy to take questions of anybody, and there's my contact information. But filing a consumer complaint is very important for us to know that these things are out there and know that consumers are being taken advantage of, and we don't know unless consumers reach out to us and let us know.
Scott, I was going to ask you, we talked briefly on the phone the other day about another thing that I've been seeing on the TV ads about paying these companies, and they're legitimate enough that they're on TV. So it's, as far as that goes, but they are saying that you need to buy this or people will steal your house by stealing your title or what have you. Did you have a chance to look into that at all, or?
I did, and we have not seen that as too much of an issue with us, in terms of we haven't seen a lot of complaints because of the nature of the title process, in terms of how difficult it is to change title and title companies and all of that. That's a little bit difficult to do because you just can't do that instantaneously. And we're aware of it. The folks that I asked about that, it has, that issue has popped up, but it doesn't seem to be too much of an issue, at least that we can see.
Well, I was going to say, I'll get off this screen share thing here. Well, I'm in, for the real estate side of things, I've not ever heard of that one. I've definitely heard of people getting suckered into thinking that they have rent. They rent a house that's not somebody, they just basically scam on that.
Yep.
We've seen people getting scammed on their down payment because they shadow their realtor or the title company guy's email. So we always have to have disclaimers. Don't ever send any money unless, through this. But we've had them try to go after people's earnest money. So that's I've seen, but I've not seen anybody's title stolen. That's why I just want to know if you run into that.
We've not seen that. That's not too much of an issue on our front.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured. So now I was going to say I've had a couple experiences. You were talking about someone coming in and using the contractor scam, on seniors. My mom had that happen where a next door neighbor had like a garage sale, before they moved, that they had for like 2 or 3 days. Well, my guess is they were there for the garage sale, saw this elderly lady, with her little dog, next door, out in the country. And they showed up with a truck saying that they had done roof work. They had not, but they were just looking to get paid. But as it turned out, one guy was keeping her busy trying to get her to pay him, and the other one was actually trying to break in the back door, at the same time. Mom, being as hard-headed and ornery as she was, she ended up making them take a check, which then they got caught, and there was a photo of the guy trying to cash the check at the bank, which was pretty funny. But and so she came out pretty well on the deal. But But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that goes on. And then another thing that happened with her, when she was thinking about selling the property, we had a call from someone that said that they were an investor and they're working with a group of investors. So we meet just to talk about it. Now I was sitting there with my real estate shirt on that particular day. So it was like, and we're sitting there and they're making this presentation. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, it looked like a listing presentation. It acted like a listing presentation. It read like a listing presentation or listing contract. But what they were offering didn't make any sense. So we just, politely walked out. But the more I got to thinking about it, I did some research and neither one of them were either an attorney or a realtor. And so I'm going, well, that, and then I called your guys' office and, eventually found out that they had been asked to cease and desist those kind of activities. We didn't have any damages to claim, but it was just, I could see that some other, elderly person may not see what I was seeing, so.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking for a victim, right? So they're looking for, if they get in that conversation of, is this person subject to manipulation? Is this person vulnerable? And what they do is they say, oh, well, if they seem like they're their next target, but if they, they get their hooks in somebody and they see some vulnerability there, they take advantage of it. And sometimes you don't find out until the harm is done.
No,
and it's difficult.
James, tell me what would you suggest? I mean, some of the things that, we know that you've got some programs there, but what can we suggest to people on how to be safe, in their environment, how to not invite things that they don't want invited into in their life? I guess that's kind of where I'm looking for here. So, yeah.
Sure. And again, and I'll try and take a step backwards too, and touch on some of the things that both John and Scott had talked about during their presentations too. But it's really like Scott was talking about, you really just need to be vigilant with everything, and don't be pressured by anybody. Just take a step back and really, look at this. Is it, like Scott said, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So I'll touch on that first, some scam pointers. Like Scott pointed out, we do work very well with the Attorney General's office. I was in our investigations division for about 5 years as well. So I've worked with some of the investigators from his office in the past, and we do. And he had mentioned sometimes there's that fine line between, a criminal issue and a civil issue. And that's why, like he said, we do recommend, if you file a police report with us, we also recommend that you file additional reports, whether it be with the state's Attorney General's office, or if it's an identity theft issue, also the Federal Trade Commission's identitytheft.org, or I'm sorry, .gov website is another great resource. And you would be surprised, when they receive those additional reports, they can kind of act like a clearinghouse, right? So they can get everything from across the country. And where there might be one little report that we take, that could be linked to something huge. Yeah. And that's how those issues get discovered and then investigated, because when we can get additional resources involved, whether it be at a state or federal level, that's when we have an opportunity to be more successful at coming to a successful ending with those. But like he also said, it is difficult to find out who's behind a lot of these scams and schemes. We're fortunate at our department. We do have someone assigned to the Secret Service Task Force for Cyber Crimes. So again, we can have some additional resources that we can throw at some of these cases, and maybe be able to free some assets and try to recover some of our victims' losses. But that's not always a guarantee. We'll do what we can, but sometimes that money, if it's wired and it's available to them instantly, they might move it out instantly as well. So we might not ever have a shot at getting it back. But if it's somewhere where it ends up in an account, maybe we can grab onto it, freeze it, and then get some of it back. Just like you meant, just be cautious if somebody asks you to wire something, especially, paying with gift cards over the phone, something like that. That's a common one. And I can't tell you how many times, we get calls at the police department, maybe from a clerk or even somebody just shopping at a store, and they become suspicious because they can pick up on these signs. If there's somebody that's maybe older or seems confused and they're walking around with somebody on the phone telling them to buy hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards. And it's the same thing even with a bank. We've had bank tellers call us as well. If they have a client that's in there and they are preparing to wire a large sum of money somewhere, they can pick up on those signs as well, and they'll try to explain to that client, have you looked into this? Or maybe they'll contact us as well while that client's still there, and we can look into that type of incident. So, Scott also mentioned that the spoofing. A common scam is where someone will claim to be a law enforcement officer, whether it's a sheriff's deputy, maybe saying you have a warrant for your arrest, something like that, and they'll want payment over the phone to help satisfy that warrant, or they'll threaten to send an officer out to arrest you, something like that. So we will not take a payment over the phone for something like that. That's something that you would work out in person if there were a warrant for your arrest. What I would recommend, though, is if you get a call and it's someone pressuring you, it seems kind of suspicious, and even if you look at that caller ID and it appears to be from a published non-emergent or a published law enforcement number, something like that, I would recommend to terminate that call, look up the number, whatever the published number is for that agency, and call it back directly. It's to the point now where people are they might look at a website, and this would be the bad guys, the criminals, and they will use actual officers' names when they make these calls now. They're advancing their techniques as people are becoming more resistant to them. So, there might be a call from, Officer Gross saying you have this warrant and you need to do this, or maybe it was a voicemail that was left saying, hey, call this number back. And again, it might not be that number that they're calling from or whatever the published number is, and it's just a direct number back to them. So just look up that published number for that agency, call back directly, ask if they have an officer working there by that name, ask to speak to that officer, and odds are you'll probably find out they'll say, no, I didn't call you. It'll be a completely different voice. So, I laughed the other day on my department phone. I tend to get a lot of text messages now, like Scott was referencing. They just blanket out and send things everywhere. And I was lucky enough to be notified that due to the pandemic, Netflix is giving everyone free 1-year subscriptions. All I have to do is click this link. So, it's just things like that that might seem too good to be true, or who knows. So that was scams. Chief Moriarty had talked about Smart 911. I want to make sure to talk about that a little bit more too. That program, I can't emphasize the importance of that and the opportunity as well. So Smart 911 is the national platform, and the way that works is the emergency dispatch centers, public safety answering points, they will contract with Smart 911 to get access to that database. So Smart 911 profiles, there's no cost to users for that, and you can create one safety profile for your entire family. And what you do is you add telephone numbers to it, so that when a telephone number that's in that registry that's been registered calls 911, that is when your information is displayed. So another common concern is information security with that. It's not something where the police officers or firefighters, anybody can just go in and access that information. There has to be an active call going to an emergency dispatch center for your profile to be visible to them. And you can add as much or as little information as you want. So it's up to you. So you could add, like Chief Moriarty was talking about, specific medical conditions, prescriptions. You can even go in and add garage door codes or door codes, front door codes, to be able to get into your house to access it. You can take photographs of your house so you can see what it looks like. You can add information about your vehicles. So, say for instance, you're involved in a crash, or you break down somewhere, something like that, and you happen to call in, or maybe, we can go a step further and maybe say you're kidnapped or being forced somewhere. Maybe someone else is driving the car now and you're stuck in it, but you're able to call 911. all that information would be available to that call center. So then officers could know, hey, we need to look for this white Ford Explorer. Here's the license plate, things like that. So where it's important also is you also attach addresses to it. So you can attach any address, but you can attach where you live, you can attach where you work. And that's important now because so many people have mobile phones. So if someone calls 911, if you're inside a building, depending on the type of technology that's in your phone and the network where you are, public safety personnel, we might not get a good location off of that cell phone call, as opposed to more in the past when you would call from a landline or an office phone, home phone, it would already give us that address to go to. So instead now with mobile phones, it gives us a radius. And if you're inside a building and the signal's not as strong, that radius can be up to half a mile, even further, if it's not a strong signal. But if it displays that radius and then your profile comes up and hey, you've put your work address or home address in and it's within that radius, now we've got somewhere to go where most likely you're going to be. So it's just another way to do that. And maybe, for example, if there's a medical condition, you're choking, something like that, you can't speak, that's another way that program can be helpful, because if you can't verbalize, you can't say your address where you need to get help, again, that information could already be accessible to dispatchers and first responders. So that's a great program. And again, it's available nationwide. So yes, Hamilton County here, there are a few other counties in the central Indiana area that have that as well. But maybe you're going on vacation somewhere on a trip. That same information, if that dispatch center, wherever you are, has access to that Smart 911 information, then all your information can come up for them as well. So it could just save so much time. So you had kind of asked about, not inviting those people into your life, right? Or being a potential victim for them. So, you had given that story about how somebody's distracting your mom outside and yet someone's trying to break into the home. So yeah, there are, things that you can do for physical safety. One of them, and it's tough because it's kind of a generational thing as well, but is just locking your home and locking your vehicle. And it's something that's changed over time. In the past, it's just a different world now. And unfortunately, criminals travel, right? So they're not restricted to one area. So while Carmel is a very nice area, very safe area, and we do everything that we can to keep it that way, the fact is we can't be everywhere, all the time. We can't have an officer on every street corner. So we need everybody's help. So if you can lock your home, just something as simple as that, locking your vehicle at night. If you leave your vehicle in the driveway, make sure you take your valuables out of it. Don't leave them in plain sight. And that could be something even as simple as a garage door opener. Sometimes they're programmed into the car now, or maybe you just clip it on the mirror. If you leave your vehicle in the driveway and it's unlocked and there's a garage door opener in there, now you've potentially just given access to your home as well. Even little things, with sliding glass doors, you can cut some PVC pipe or a piece of wood, something like that, and put it in the door track so that it can't be forced open that way. Surveillance cameras, unfortunately, there's not enough time to talk about all the technology and things that are out there for safety. But surveillance cameras, that technology has come such a long way, and they can be so easy to use now that either, if the person purchasing it can get them installed, or maybe there's a family member or a neighbor, someone else that can help with that. But there's wireless options now and all kinds of things that make them easy to use, and they can be extremely helpful. Something else that's important is for personal items. If you have something that has a serial number on it, it's so important to document that. Whether it be TV, electronics, anything like that. If you have jewelry, make sure you get it appraised. If there's engravings or something else unique about that item, make sure you take photographs and document that. That way, in the event that something does happen and perhaps it is stolen, that's a way that the police department, we can help track that down and possibly get it back for you. If it's taken and maybe sold at a pawn shop or a secondhand store, there are laws in place that require those items to be held for a certain amount of time before they're destroyed or melted down, anything like that. And they have to enter that information into a database that we can search and access. So just another way that we can help get things back. As far as financial safety, and with this situation, I think of maybe this is someone now maybe living in an assisted living facility or even in their own home, but they have caretakers or someone coming in from a company. Just make sure you secure everything and know where it is, have record to it. Some of the most heartbreaking calls to go to is going to take a theft report or something from an assisted living facility where, there were some important documents or cash or valuables, jewelry, things like that might have been taken. Maybe look into a safe that you can secure it in. If you have family members or someone else that's helping you manage your finances, like Scott had mentioned too, make sure you check your credit reports, look for that suspicious activity. Or you had mentioned if it's a company that helps monitor credit, definitely look into those things. If you have a written list of usernames, passwords, things like that for different accounts, make sure that's secure and you know where that is, because if that walks away, that could be a lot of trouble in your life to try and get all that reset and recovered. Something else with physical safety, if it's possible, make sure you have a cell phone with you, or maybe it's a situation where their memory might not be as good in case of dementia, something like that. If they have a phone with them, that could give us an avenue to try to get in touch with them, or maybe try to track them from the phone service. If they don't have a phone, maybe you could have your family member, friend, loved one, whoever it is, this might be, just carry a list with them of emergency contacts in their wallet or in their pocket, something like that. So if an officer comes into contact with them, they can then reach out to somebody to help get them back where they need to be. And one other note here from something that Scott had mentioned as well. Typically, unfortunately, we weren't able to do it this year, but generally we have 2 shred it days each year where you can come and shred your documents as well. We also do prescription medication take back at that event as well. So that's another safety issue, whether there's something that's unused or maybe expired prescription medication, make sure it gets disposed of properly, because that could be harmful as well. If it's left out, maybe a child finds it, grandchild, something like that. And then one other program that I want to talk about that we do too are car seat installations. So if it's maybe a grandparent, maybe when they had their kids, we all know how car seats are now. They're very intimidating, unfortunately. So we have certified child passenger safety technicians. I'm one of those here at our department. And you can just schedule an appointment. And this is if someone lives in Carmel, works in Carmel, or even if you just need an appointment, you can contact us. We're more than happy to look at that seat and your vehicle and help either review the installation, make sure it's in there properly, or we can do it with you and make sure you understand how it works and know and are comfortable with it.
Well, that's great. And as a grandparent, putting those things in there, sometimes you feel like you're wrestling with a bear to get them in there. So, so gentlemen, phenomenal. Do any of you guys get anything else that you want to add to this? Scott, John?
I don't think so. I think a lot of good information, and I appreciate including the office.
John, I look like you were getting ready to say something.
Yes, I just wanted to say again, to touch base on the mobile integrated health program. That number they can call is 317-571-2600, and they can ask to speak to Bruce Frost. He's one of our firefighter paramedics that oversees that program. So if anyone's interested there that would like to speak about that. And one other program that we have that's online on our website is the Making the World Safer for Aging Adults. So they can simply go to our website and then scan down to safety resources, and hit that with the cursor, and then you just simply go to where it says making the world safer for aging adults, and there's a lot of information in there about how to keep themselves safe at home.
Excellent. I love it. So could you send that to me? I'll put that on Life's Co-Pilot's website and Facebook page too.
Absolutely. I'll send that to you. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. So, well, guys, thank you so much for the thing. I can't believe it's always the same way every time those hours go so quickly. We'll be doing another event. It'll be on the 24th of November from 6 to 7. I've got several different panelists that are working in our senior living communities, and what a lot of people, if you've not been into some of these new senior living communities, it's not what we grew up hearing about. There's some of them I'm trying to figure out how can I get there now? You know, they're kind of like a cruise ship on land, you know. So they'll be explaining some of that, how all that works. That's going to be coming up on the 24th. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. An hour has gone by rapidly once again. So this will be it's on our Facebook page with Life's Co-Pilot. I'll send all you guys a copy of this video on YouTube when we get this done. And thank you so much for coming. I think it was phenomenal. So
thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you, Scott, Mr. Officer Gross.
See you guys. Bye-bye.